Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Company on Power Talk. Thank you so much for making us part of your day today. And without further ado, it's an honor to bring in really gifted drummer, guy who came up before, when people were allowed to create music as a team and there wasn't a lot of interference and you could develop your own sound. And bottom line, he has his own voice and continues on. Rick Shlosser, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Did you recognize that cut?
No, I didn't, but I was tapping my foot.
Well, that I want you to. This is really important. I need you to talk about this this album you did with Martin Fierro, a soundtrack called Music of El Topo, with Martin Fierro and Howard Wales. It was done with the band Shades of Joy, but you're on drums.
Wow. Now that's a blast from the past.
And that was 1970. 1970.
Jeez.
It was made on Douglas.
Sure?
It was made. Well, I mean, you're listed on the album cover.
No kidding. Wow, I'll have to look that up.
Dude, I was so. I mean, did you play with Howard and Martine or never?
You know, it's quite possible. In 1970, that's way too long ago for me to remember. 1970, I was in. Let me think. I was in Boston. I might not. I don't. You know, I was in Boston playing with Andy Pratt, and also I was the first. Right around that time, I was probably playing with White Trash. I was their first drummer.
I'll be honest. It seems like everybody was there. Well, I mean, they went through a lot of drummers, but I mean, did you move to Mill? When did you move to Mill Valley?
That was in. Let me think now. That was the beginning of '71, and. I moved there from Boston. I had been playing with Andy Pratt there, but Andy didn't want to play live. And I was just chomping at the bit, so a band I'd been with on Capitol called Rig, it disbanded, but everybody moved to Northern California from New York City, and although I was in station for the entire sum of $75 a week.
That's a smoking deal back then, man. Wait, how did you get into I'm sorry, so Warner's had a place up in the Bay Area?
Well, it was through the manager that was with Rig, Mark Spector.
Was that R-I-G-G?
Yeah, R-I-G.
R-I-G Rig. What was that, like a psychedelic heavy band? Heavy psych band?
They were actually kind of like it sounds like they were like kind of like a polka. We had a pedal steel, and they were on Capitol Records.
Psychedelic country western. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a fun. It was the first band I ever went on the road with. Really, played some gigs here and there with White Trash, but I totally was the wrong drummer for White Trash.
Do you remember? I mean, do you remember like a period of time in the studios when you worked with a producer mid to later 70s when they just told you to play straight beats or play what the last pop song beat was and not play yourself?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
when did that
That's
start
right.
happening? And explain the whole. How did it go from being yourself to conforming to playing straight beats in your mind?
Well, let me think about that a second. Probably the minute I got my foot in the studio door, which basically was with Andy Pratt, because his family was part of Pratt Institute and Standard Oil and Charles Pratt Investment on Wall Street, and he had his own studio. So yeah, we had carte blanche. I mean, we could just go in there and try any idea. That was where I learned how to tune drums, because there was no clock, so we would spend hours just tuning a tom-tom or a snare drum or whatever we wanted to do. And it was totally open to any artistic expression that you could come up with. The minute I started playing more in the studio with producers who wanted to put their stamp on the record, it became a little more difficult to approach it that way. I mean, I had to, when I went to Berklee School of Music, I learned how to read charts, thank God, because it was no longer, hey, let's smoke a couple joints and sit down and think about this for a while or whatever it was. Time was money. Money was time. It was like, we don't want to go overtime. You got to, lay this down with this particular beat. And you're right. It probably started, I would say, in the mid-'70s for me.
Yeah, like 75, 76 area.
Yeah. I mean, I remember once doing a record where who did Don't Rock the Boat Baby? Oh, Hughes Corporation. I went in to do a record, and the producer had written out every single hi-hat open and close, every snare drum beat, every fill, every bass drum beat, everything. I mean, it was like, what am I, a drum machine? So it was, I thought, you could hire anybody to do this who knows how to read. Why did you call me?
I guess.
Yeah,
Why? Let me ask you, like, how did fundamentally because that wasn't all. There were great producers that always that earlier than that allowed. It was like the artist date, and they like Orrin Keep News, people like that. Like in a jazz setting, it was like, this is his date. I'm staying out of it, and there was no. Why was the companies were still doing well financially? It's just the bean counters got involved.
That's the absolute truth. I mean, going to work with people like Arif Martin and Ted Templeman and stuff. I mean, back then these guys, especially Ted for me, because Ted used to be a drummer, and so he had wonderful ideas, and he was more than willing to try them out. And he would lots of times say, let me just sit down here. I had this idea for this song. Let me play you what I think it is. And his chops weren't great, but his approach was wonderful, and his ideas were just, for me, I mean, it made it so much easier. Giving me direction, I actually enjoyed, unless someone said, "Hey, just play what you want to play," which I also enjoyed. It was a little difficult at times to play exactly what someone other than myself or the producer heard, which could have been sometimes even the artist, But the thing about being in the studio is you can never look at anybody and smirk or go, wow, that's a really dumb idea. I mean, you had to I got an idea, and everybody would sort of go, oh, great. So.
I mean, can you talk yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, was there a loft scene in Boston with Pratt? Like, you guys had people up there jamming? Who was up there?
No, not really. I mean, there was, back then, a guy named Ray Perret had a company called Amphion, and he had Ultimate Spinach, which actually had Skunk Baxter in it.
Oh, my God. I think I know. I was born in 78. This is all fantasy to me.
I was born in 46.
No, what I'm saying is I mean, my historical, my viewpoint is on humanity, so I'm trying to figure, basically, can you talk about so Skunk was there, but I mean, maybe 5 years earlier or so, Brecker and Liebman, Lenny White, Dave Holland, they had these loft scenes, musical scenes. Chick Corea had them. in New York, and I got to believe that was still really a happening thing. Maybe not at this particular place with Pratt, but elsewhere.
Right. Probably it was. I was attending Berklee School of Music, but I was a bit of an outcast because it really, really was completely a jazz-oriented curriculum, and I was sort of more of a blues rock player, and so I
So did you play? Did you actually go to the combat zone to play a lot?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's talk about because here's the thing. This is what it comes down to, and obviously things are kind of forever changed at this point. We have a new normal that we're all adapting to, but the emphasis in music schools should be on ear training only, maybe a little bit of sight reading, but like the point is that when you went to school, you got an education on the bandstand. You were playing 3 sets a night in the combat zone or blues clubs or whatever. Those opportunities don't exist today, and part of it is because the music is not stimulating because there's a homogenization of sound because we are flooded with material. But I mean, the point is that I just think the guys, the irony of the whole thing is that the guys, and through no fault of their own, because they're trying to support their families, but the ones that grew up with ear training are teaching sight reading, and that's not a good thing. It should be a full adherence to ear training in music because your ears are unlocked, then you develop your own sound, and but if you and so talk about your, I guess I know where you stand on it, but talk about your experience at Berklee in terms of, I don't know, playing James Brown tunes with strippers,
Yeah, well, I did that. And I also, when you said 3 sets a night, I kind of chuckled because I played 7 nights a week, 6 40-minute sets a night with a 20-minute break in between, and matinees on Saturday and Sunday afternoon for $185 a week.
Right, and at the time, with the cost of living, you were actually getting ahead.
I was. My apartment, I had a beautiful apartment for like $1.75 a month. So I was doing okay, and working with Andy was great. But and when you mention ears, I mean, the ear training thing is so important, and understanding, chord progressions and hearing where things are going, because it sort of all it coalesced in one track one time. Where I was doing, I think it was a Dionne Warwick record with Barry Manilow producing, who is a wonderful producer, and because he knew exactly what he wanted.
Manilow's a sick jazz piano player too, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He would sit down at the piano and he'd give everybody a chart and he'd run it down and he'd give everybody a little bit of, idea of dynamically and stuff. But one of the tunes we did was Deja Vu.
Wow.
And I think it won her a Grammy for Best Female R&B Vocal. Well, they gave me a chart that was literally almost like a 3x5 card that had all of the chords, symbols, all of the lyrics, everything, the melody written in it. And we started playing it. The very first take, we started playing it, and I took my eye off it for a second, and I had no idea when I looked going through it because there were some hits, and it was a slow kind of R&B-ish feel, and Will Lee played brilliantly on it, and I was probably listening mostly to him. And after we were done, Barry goes, "Oh, great, that's it, next." And I went, Barry, I was lost the entire time.
Wow.
And he goes, "I love it." Yeah. So.
And you know what? The point was that it was. I mean, listen, when Jamerson, when Motown moved to L.A. and the Funk Brothers got left in Detroit, or just sort of left high and dry, but whatever. Jamerson, he just sort of, I mean, he wasn't prepared. He was an iconic figure. He was a recluse, so Gene Page, who was Barry White's musical director, wrote out the bass parts for Motown in L.A. based on what so basically Jamerson was not functional, couldn't play anymore. So Gene Page wrote out his bass parts, and nobody could play them, okay, because it was Jamerson, except one cat. One cat could play it. You know who it was? He could read flypaper, Wilton Felder.
Oh, I've worked with Wilton.
Okay, so Wilton became Motown's bass player. Those Jackson 5 records, that's him playing bass. He could read Jamerson's bass lines. But my point is, it was more about okay, you know, if you hit a clam or whatever, sometimes that would find its way into things, or you'd do another take. But if the feel was there, you didn't have the technology. I mean, listen, let's be honest. I mean, some of these sessions, the companies would block out 2 weeks in the studio. There wasn't a lot of studio pressure time with, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, and you know, they'd have bowls of cocaine in there and things like that. And the thing is that, like, you know, to me, the idea was to create as close to a live vibe in the studio as possible, right?
Right.
So you got lost in the music, you know, and you weren't thinking about perfection.
No. In fact,
you didn't have time to think.
Perfection's a little bit boring. I mean, I find perfection boring.
Right.
I mean, to this day, I can listen to any track I ever did and listen to it and go, oh, why did I play that feel or that fill or oh my God, I slowed down right there. You know what I mean? I mean, I always hear my mistakes, but the truth is, there have been times when I've listened to a song I played on and actually enjoyed it, which is difficult for me. I don't know why, but it is. You know, because I cringe sometimes at things that I did. But the truth is that the overall sound of it and the effect that it created in the field was enough for lots of people to enjoy. And I guess and that's like the end game is that did people really like it?
These live albums to be made. Give me some feedback. Is there validity to that?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if I'm in a position to evaluate that because I was very busy. I was doing a lot of work, and some people weren't busy at all. And you know, I did rock and pop and R&B and jazz and all of it. You know, in the same. I mean, I don't know how many Van Morrison albums. I did several Van Morrison albums live, and I mean, you know, that's rock and roll. And you know. There generally were larger venues, granted. The jazz venue, although some of the jazz venues were pretty big. The Montreux, I did Montreux, and I did the Tokyo Summer Jazz Festival, and I did the Milestone Jazz Stars tour. That was packed. I mean, we packed all these great theaters, and so you know, I don't know if it was just the small venues. I think it was all over the place, and a lot of people didn't like making live records because if you really held to the genre and put it out that way, it exposed some of the raw underbelly of it all. There was one particular artist who shall remain unnamed, who I set up to record at the Great American Music Hall, and they recorded the album, and then they came in the studio and replaced everything but the audience. They cleaned it up perfectly, and it was perfectly clean, and it had no more life, and it went right in the dumper, and it was a piece of junk because they took the life out of it.
Rick Shlosser, you want to take a guess at who that is?
Boy, I'm not sure.
He's a decorated engineer, and I believe somebody you probably worked with, Jim Stern.
Oh, Jim, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my radio.
Everything you said with that. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. When did you first connect with Stern?
The perfection.
It just sort of ties into the theme, but I'm curious as to when you first connected with Stern and got into the studio, the studios in Berkeley.
Well, he engineers can make or break a record immediately.
Right.
If you don't sound good in your headphones, how can you possibly play and feel like you're doing something? I mean, it's almost impossible. So first of all, having an engineer who understands that and can get a great sound. It's like if your instrument doesn't sound good, you're not going to be able to play it as well as you can. I mean, you're always it's a fight, and engineers like Jim and so many engineers I worked with in LA knew that. I mean, if you said, look, I really need something here, it was never like, oh man, what? It was always like, yeah, how can I help you to play better? And,
right. Everyone was rowing in the same. I mean, it wasn't perfect all the time, but I know that Van Gelder, they didn't take any shit. I mean, if those guys showed up, wasted or something like that, it really wouldn't work out. But Stern, Van is a really unpredictable guy, and I how did you wind up connecting with Van?
That was an interesting story because I told you when I first moved to Northern California. Well, with Andy Pratt, we would sit in his library and drink $500 bottles of wine from his parents' cellar and listen to Astro Weeks. And
that's great.
I realized how brilliant this guy was, and and in fact, I had because of Astro Weeks, I'd sort of formed this opinion of him that was really different than who he was. But I thought he must be so spiritual and this amazing.
Right.
Anyway,
Exactly.
he is pretty spiritual, but not the way I thought.
No, I mean he's got a lightning bolt of spirit going through him.
Oh, totally. I mean, totally. He's in touch with some power that I don't understand. Because he once said to me. Can
you repeat that? He once said to you what? What did he say?
He would say, "Oh, Rick, I haven't written a song in 6 months," and literally 2 weeks later, he'd have a whole album written, ready to go. Which meant to me, he was somehow a conduit for some power that I just didn't really understand. I didn't see how.
Everyone's a conduit for something, but I mean that's insane. That's great.
Yeah. So he
So you guys were just getting wasted to Astro Weeks on the other side of the country, and how the heck did you meet him?
Well, when I moved, when I got that gig with Lamb, when I moved to the Bay Area, I met the keyboard player there was Tom Salisbury, and Tom one day at a rehearsal said to me, "Hey, I just heard that Van Morrison's looking for a drummer." I looked at him like, "What? Really?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I actually have his number." I said, "Give me the number." I take the number, I call it. Van answers the phone, which would never, ever happen today.
Right.
And we start a conversation. I tell him I'm a drummer. And he says, and plus, his Irish accent was, he'd end a sentence like sort of going up with his voice instead of down, so I was always sort of waiting for another word or something, so I was having a hard time understanding him. Finally, I got an address and a time, and I show up at his studio at his house, and here's Ronnie Montrose guitar and Bill Church on bass, and Van. And so
Ronnie Montrose on guitar? That is sick.
Yeah, he played on Wild Night and that whole Tupelo Honey record.
Oh my God!
Believe it or not. So Van comes in, and I'm set up and ready to go, and I'm just so excited. I can't believe it, because I'm in Astro Weeks, and my God, Gloria, Brown. So Van takes a mic, and he lies down on his couch. And he's lying on his couch, and he goes, Into the Mystic? And I go, oh, my God, I love that song. And he goes, 3, 4, and we start in. And he goes, we're blowing for Hollywood. So much fun than that. I mean, barely understand him. He's like totally not into it. He's lying down. And he stops after the first verse, and he goes, okay, do you know These Dreams? Or he'd name off like every song. We'd start, and we'd almost get to the chorus, and he'd stop. And the whole rehearsal went like that. And I leave going, he says, come on back tomorrow, And so I leave, and I come back the next day. And same thing. Same exact thing. And I'm thinking, this is killing me. I'm going like, wait a minute. Guy.
Wait, just for the audience. I mean, what he was not, he was singing very, like he was like painfully low. So it was like he was trying to get,
I don't know. I mean, he just didn't like his songs. He didn't want to sing any of his songs because and actually I went through that rehearsal, and I went out and had a drink with Ronnie, I think we met for lunch after that or something, and I just looked at Ronnie and Bill, and I said, "What is the story?" And they said, "We don't know, So I said, "Well, I can't do this." I said, "I'm going to come back tomorrow, but if he does the same thing, I'm out of here." So and it's killing me. So he starts off the same way, lying on his couch, calling out songs, never finishing, and all of a sudden he looked at us and he goes, "Hey, you know Hound Dog?" And we went, "Yeah." And he goes, "You ain't nothing but a..." And he jumps off the couch.
Wow.
Starts rolling around on the floor, singing this song. And from there he called off every song that he knew the lyric to that wasn't his song. And it was amazing. It was like the most amazing performance with just the four of us in the studio. And it was like he just reached out and grabbed me. I was like, "Okay, got it. I see who this guy is now."
What? Just from the after being how many hours? How many hours each day did he do?
I just saw this guy could be an amazing performer, and if he's really into it, it could just be so much more fun. But you're right. You never knew who you were going to get a lot of times.
Yeah.
But
no. Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's genius, though. That's what happens when you have some things that are great and other things aren't so great, I guess. So
it is up and down. How did you get the Lamb gig?
I mentioned Mark Spector, and he was working with them through Warner Brothers, and he had also been the manager of that band Rig in New York City. So before I even made the move to California, I knew I had a gig to make some money. So that was helped me make the move. I wasn't like totally blind, but it was such to me it just felt like such an amazing time in music. Anything was possible. Everybody was playing all over the place. It was like musical chairs. It was just a wonderful time to be involved. I can't even imagine what it would be like today, trying to.
Yeah, well, no, it's yeah. What was did you like wind up playing at the Trident? Like, where did you try to push yourself live to play?
With Van or?
No. I mean, when you first got out there, like what situation? Because there was a lot of weird music going on.
No, I had the Lamb gig before. They didn't even audition me. I had the gig.
And they were, and so who is Barbara? Who is this woman?
Barbara Moritz was the lead singer, and what's her partner? At the time, it was a duo, and then they started adding people. And the bass player was David Hayes. Unbelievable bass player.
Oh my God! Did you? And you worked with Bill.
He ended up playing with Dan.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, did you wind up working with him or only Bill Church?
No, actually, I did work with David a little bit later on because I did the Astro Weeks tour in 2008 and 9.
Oh wow, that's fantastic!
And,
I didn't. So, but Barbara, that was a lot. That was a gig like that you were playing like off Broadway, or like what was that like?
The Lamb gig was really just. It was sort of like well, we're the first band in the movie Last Days of the Fillmore East.
Interesting.
And it was kind of like a little countryish, not real rock and rolly, but it was interesting songs that you had a chance to make up parts to. It wasn't like real straight ahead, like a straight ahead rock and roll thing at all. It was some interesting music. And very dynamic, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
Did you wind up playing Fillmore and places like that?
Yeah, because Bill Graham was our manager.
Wow, that's awesome. So basically, I guess it strikes me as almost like operatic, sort of like free music. So like. what other bands would he put on the bills with you guys?
We were usually an opener. We opened for the very first tour of.
A lot of times he put jazz openers, you know.
Yeah, he did. No, we played the Opera House in San Francisco.
Wow.
Opening for God, no, my brain. Rocket. You know, he became huge.
Eddie Money.
No. Keyboard player, the trio. Jeez, I can't believe I can't think of his name. Come on.
What kind of?
Come on, Rick. You know it. It was remember Rocket Man, Tiny Dancer.
Oh, Elton John.
Elton John.
Yeah. So you opened. Wait, hold on. Lamb opened for. Yeah, because because you know something. No, this is so crazy because I've interviewed Jerry Pompili. I don't know if you know Jerry, but basically.
We're good friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jerry did a couple interviews, and he was responsible. One of his jobs was it's the greatest job in the world, was to listen to new records and find out what was hip. And he picked, in 1972, he picked out the two things that caught his ear that either weren't instant sensation. Definitely one wasn't an instant sensation, which was Bruce Springsteen and the East, whatever album they did from Asbury Park. And then the other one was Elton John. And so they had both of those cats. So you opened at the Opera House.
Yeah, Opera. Yes.
And then were you on more traditional gigs as well with Chicago blues players?
I mean, we played a lot of clubs, really. The Boarding House. Where did we play? We played Cotati, the Cotati Inn. And he would put us on some interesting. I mean, he would book us. Bill would book us to get to put us out in front for some interesting gigs, all of which I kind of like. Difficult to remember all of them, but he was such a great guy. I mean, he definitely.
What made him? Because he was a hard. He was the. I can step back from this whole fantasy world that I'm in, and this but without him, it really wouldn't have been anything because he learned how to monetize that scene. But I also think there was a lot of. Mafia money involved too. In terms of,
impossible.
Well, especially with the. But at the end of the day, did you wind up opening for John Handy or Miles or any types of
No, we never opened. No, we never did that. For some reason, that didn't happen.
So,
I'm not sure why.
Would you say that in general, that there was, you basically feel like you've tried to do everything at this point musically? Is there something that you still are, that's on your bucket list?
I still practice. I'm still trying to get my left hand to be as good as my right hand, but. You know what? I wish I had. One of the things when I came to Mexico, I started getting more into was more Latin stuff, which for me was a whole new language. The clave and everything. I always knew what a clave is, but to actually play some of that kind of music in this setting was pretty eye-opening. I took some hand drum lessons from some wonderful percussionists here, and so I did want to learn more Latin stuff, which I could. For the rest of my life, I could study, but to be honest with you, here's what happened to me. When I was, I got married and divorced, and I had a kid, and my son, I took custody of my son when when he was 6.5. That was in 1976, and so as an only parent, I had to take care of my son. Every day, get him to bed, get him up, make him breakfast, dinner, make sure he did his homework. and while being a musician. And I had some amazing opportunities to be parts of band, be in a band, and I couldn't do it. And I always wanted to do that, and I wanted to do more road stuff. For 10 years, I turned down everything until I took the gig with James Taylor. But I had offers from Hall & Oates, from Rod Stewart. I played on that tune, Tonight's the Night, and Killing of Georgia, I think it was called. And he wanted me to play in his band, and I couldn't do it. You know, I was a stay-at-home dad, basically. And luckily, I had my foot in the studio door.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. I mean, that was, you were in L.A. at that point?
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yes.
how did, because that's interesting, because it, you know, at that time, just looking here, you know, Andy did a self-titled album in '73. You did work with Art Garfunkel, you know,
Yep.
Rod Stewart. I guess if you can look back, like, how did you like and enjoy the drum kit being mic'd? In my mind, some of the most beautiful albums has nothing to do with analog versus digital. It's like how you mic it, and it's about, like,
Right.
to me, the drums, like maybe a right and left overhead, and maybe one for the kick drum. And there's a little bit of leakage, but there's space in the music. And what was the or who did you work for in the studio that gave that, in terms of producing, that had those great miking techniques?
Fantastic mics, which I wish I had today, and a great sounding room. And you know, I always thought that less is more, and so whether or not they used everything, at least they were using great mics and a great sounding room, and I could hear everything as well as I wanted to hear it. I mean, I was happy. I mean, always loved the John Bonham thing, which was probably like just maybe 3 mics, you know, 4 at the most. But it was where they recorded them and where they placed them. I also, at one point in L.A., some of the engineers got into miking the top and the bottom of every tom, which
Exactly.
to me was such overkill.
It was overkill. It's overkill, man.
I hated it. Yeah, I didn't get it.
Freaking
I didn't get it at all.
What were some of the early sessions like?
but
I mean, when you go back to I don't know, you know, oh God, a guy I did a great interview with, Ronnie Hawkins or Eric Anderson. I mean, these were like blues folk.
Right.
I mean, how were they mic'd? How were the guys miking it at that time?
Well, boy, you know, it would probably, especially in New York City, probably with as few mics as possible. Because usually the kits they had there was, you know, no one was going to drag their drums up to the 32nd floor of some high-rise to a studio. So they had a kit there that was mic'd, and everybody used it. And I remember doing, it might have been Eric Anderson, I forget, but I went into the studio and looked at the drum kit, and here's a snare, a tom-tom, a rack tom, a bass drum, and a hi-hat, and a couple cymbals. And here I'm used to, like, you know, 3 toms, 4 toms, and lots of cymbals, blah, blah, blah. And I remember looking at the engineer, and I'm going, really? This is it? And he kind of looked at me askance, and he goes, well, let me play you something. And he took me in the studio and played this track that was, like, really burning. And I went, wow, that's incredible. He goes, yeah, that's Steve Gadd on this kit yesterday. So I went,
wow,
okay.
wow,
Okay,
dude.
I'll use it.
That's so great.
Right, though. But I like the fact. I mean, I don't like I don't like a lot of mics, and I like leakage. And
why do you like it? Explain why you like it aesthetically.
Well, because it's not contained. It permeates the entire track and everybody else's sound, so that it's not like individuals playing like it's a complete entire piece, that has all of the how do I explain it? To me, when I would listen back and hear leakage, as opposed to being in a little drum booth where everything is contained, it just sounded bigger to me. It sounded like that what you had just played even sounded better. And sometimes I would go in and hear my drums and go, "What's that?" You know? Oh, could you turn off some of these? Turn the overheads up a little bit so I can hear the whole kit, not just the kick and the snare and a little bit of hi-hat or something. And I think that it got out of hand. It got out of hand. I mean,
well, we just kept getting more and more consumption of technology and apparatuses and non-human sort of things.
Exactly.
I want you also to explain, like, there's a lot of cats who are hungry to keep growing musically, and I'm not sure if this was you, but I mean, like, you definitely wouldn't. I mean, you went to Berkeley. I guess, did you go to Berkeley with Abe Laboriel?
In fact, not only did I go there with him, but I got him on the Andy Pratt record.
I noticed that, and he's a dear friend. It's bringing a smile to my face, man. That guy is the freaking greatest dude ever.
He's wonderful. We played on 9 to 5 together when I was in LA. But
because he was there with a guy named Harry Blazer, and they were really getting, like, Gary Burton got them on a record. It was like, it was crazy, and it's like, I'm like, did Shlosser, when you were playing the blues gigs, how come Les McCann and the Crusaders tunes lent themselves more to blues rock than, like, bebop?
Well, I mean, when I hear bebop, to me, I'm going, wow, that's higher mathematics.
Right.
I mean, I can listen to it and totally appreciate it, but honestly, I can't really play it. It's like, I only got to. I think I went through trigonometry, but no, I went through calculus. It's still, to me, it's like, what is the subdivision here? What are they doing? When I listen to those guys play, it's just astounding. It's like they're just gods.
But isn't it more like just like having, just the way it would be, running or being a football player or running the basketball court? It's just you're in a state of flow, right? And it's just a matter of how much you can get to a point of that zen where it's like, and then it has to feel good, But at the same time, it's like,
right.
Somehow getting to that point where you're lost, like you were in that session with Manilow or with Dionne Warwick, and he's like, he's like, it was great, we're done.
I think part of the difference for me would be when you play a shuffle, and you just play a shuffle. I mean, you don't do a lot of fills, you don't do a cymbal crash, maybe you just play a shuffle from beginning to end, and all of a sudden the groove just keeps getting wider and bigger and wider and wider. As Al Jackson did that to me with his R&B stuff. I mean, he wasn't. You didn't hear a fill that you'd go, wow, what did he just do? What was that? But his groove would just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like maybe it was just the play on simplicity as opposed to the incredible mathematics involved for me in bebop. And I think too, you do have to let yourself go in jazz in a way that I've done it at times, and it's thrilling, it's exhilarating, but it's a little scary,
right?
Because I was so used to 2 and 4, hit the backbeat, and there the times when all I was feeling was a pulse, and it didn't matter to me what bar it was, or was it a verse or a chord. I mean, none of that mattered. And I've been there, and I can see I can see where it'd almost be like a drug. That you'd want to get that hit all the time.
Well, is there a way to incorporate any kind of jazz aesthetics in country rock or rock, in Van's music, for instance? I mean, Van's, his horn arrangements, all that stuff, like Jim Stern, he's like, that's rock and roll, but there is a swing element to it,
Yes. Well, Van, you're right. I mean, listen to Moondance. I mean,
Right. That's such a yeah.
Straight ahead kind of a jazz kind of feel, really. But for some reason, when I think of bebop, I always think, oh, it's some sort of odd time or something, which Van hardly ever did. I mean, in fact, I can't think of a song I ever. I played some 3/4 stuff with him, but it was almost all 4/4, and pretty straight ahead. I think that, and Van was another guy that let you do what you wanted to do. In fact, he used to say, "Oh, if I got to tell you what to play, you can't play it." So, I kind of got that with him, that if you just kind of played his song without a huge amount of embellishment and listened to his lyric and hit stuff with his lyric and never stepped on it, he was a happy guy. There was a tune called Jackie Wilson Said.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
And there was a lyric in it, and makes my heart go boom, 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 and I just hit 3 floor toms when he did that or something. And years later, Mickey Hart wrote some book about percussion and said that was like the perfect example of drums and a lyric going together and enhancing each other. And I don't know. I don't know if it was his idea or my idea, but it just seemed.
No, this is so cool because it's so cool you said that because I interviewed this cat yesterday, Renard Pochet from New Orleans, and he was in a band called Blackmail. Okay, and this is what he said. He said. The Neville brothers have a book, and there's a chapter called Blackmail. It mentions when they decided to start the Neville brothers that they knew they needed a rhythm section. They needed a drummer, a bass player, and guitar player. And Art mentions seeing Blackmail because we did some shows with the Meters. He said he remembers Blackmail being funkier than the Meters, which I don't disagree with. And he goes, which I disagree with. Okay, he said, but the point is that it. I mean, you get you have to believe that is such a beautiful legacy point, and it's a song I'm going to have to go back and take a listen. Did you play with Garcia ever?
With Garcia?
Jerry Garcia.
No, I never did. No. But I'll tell you a funny thing about the Meters. I was playing with Boz, and we used to play in New Orleans quite a bit. And we played some park outside, and the Meters opened for us.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go on after the Meters, And we went on stage. We played 2 songs, and it started to rain. And we had a call, and I was like, phew, thank God.
Did you? Would you? Yeah, no. I mean, that's like. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to follow them either. But would you say that? In all honesty, I mean, the record sold millions of copies, Boz and Van, and when you did go on tours with those guys, when it was lucrative enough for you to make that sacrifice and go on tours. Did you basically play a formula trip set, or were there parts where those guys lent it to leaving the head of the tune and really stretching out?
I think it was pretty. No, there was not. Actually, Boz used to stretch out quite a bit when we were just a 4-piece band. He was the only guitar player. It was guitar, bass, organ, drums, and sometimes a saxophone player. And
who was on bass? Who was on bass?
I think it was David Brown back then.
Wow.
This was pre. Low down. I mean, it was pre the whole Toto thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun because it was like we never had a set list or anything. Boz would just get up there and play and talk and say, "I want to do this one next" or whatever, and it was pretty loose. I mean, it was, actually, with Van never made up a set list, but unfortunately for most players, he had like 400 songs he could call off, and if you had to be ready. In fact, in the Astro Weeks tour, he never had a set list, but you've got an orchestra on stage, and so he would. And he was supposed to tell the keyboard player what the next song was. So in between songs, everybody is like keyed on the keyboard player. And we're hoping that he's going to hear what Van's going to tell him to play so he can tell us. Well, there were a couple nights where either he couldn't hear what Van said or didn't understand it, and Van would get just a little bit, he'd get impatient, and he'd just count off the song, but no one would know what it was, and it worked. I don't know how that worked.
Yeah, that was him just saying, like, that was him tapping into the conduit and just getting everybody locked in and being like, okay, we're just going to roll and super focused. Like, I mean, Ozzy Allers told me that Van fired cats on stage during the concert.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, the dude.
One time we were playing, yeah, he decided to move the stage while we were playing.
What do you mean by that?
While we're playing,
are you moving the stage?
Well, he felt that he was too far out in front.
Oh my God!
And he likes to be sort of enclosed a little more.
Yeah.
So while we're before the next, he said, "I like pull these risers." So while we're playing, these stagehands are pulling our risers towards the front of the stage. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
Oh my God!
And then there were two drummers, and we were both playing different songs.
Wait, hold on. You had double drums.
And so we would be standing there like ready to race, like we're runners, and we're standing in back of the drums and we're waiting for the next song to be whatever it's going to be. So and you go like, "Oh, that's you." And I go, no, that one's you, and you jump up and play. I mean, it was insane.
Wait a minute, wait, hold on. You're telling me that on these tours, he'd have like almost like James Brown did with Clyde and Jabo, like one guy, those guys.
That was,
because they didn't play at the same time. It was they traded on and off, and maybe the other one would play some sort of cymbal beat or something. Right. But I mean, did you play double drums on certain songs?
No, never. But he had a huge percussion setup, which I kind of ended up using quite a bit. And in fact, the second half of the Astro Weeks tour, they said, well, and it was supposed to. The original thought for Astro Weeks was he was going to do. The first half of the show was going to be all the songs from the live album that he did. I can't remember the name of it, but it was sort of the songs that everybody knows, and then the Astro Weeks album was going to be done. Well, he kept not he would never rehearse the first part of the show, so there were some songs that he wanted me to play and others that he wanted the other drummer to play. But I ended up mostly doing a lot of percussion for in the end for the Astro Weeks, and I kept saying. They'd call me up and say, "Okay, Van wants you to just play percussion on this last half," and I'm going, "But I'm not a percussionist. I'm a drummer."
Yeah.
Nope, you got to play percussion, because I'd never played congas really. I mean, I never studied congas or any of that stuff.
I just wanted to go back to something. I want to say you said something before about so you guys are in for Van's looking for a drummer, and. You go up there, David Hayes and Church and Montrose.
Yeah, and Ron.
And now he laid on the couch for 3 days, started to sing Hound Dog, and then what was the album that you cut after that?
That was I believe that was Tupelo Honey.
So the blockage that he had, or the lack of confidence in the songs he was singing, was from Tupelo.
Let me think about that a second, because I think he already had most of Tupelo Honey written.
But you said he was kind of down on his songs. He wasn't singing the songs.
Yeah, he was down on singing songs that he had already recorded.
Wait a minute, St. Dominic's Preview?
Yeah, it might have been St. Dominic's or Hard Nosed the Highway was the album that I ended up playing on, where he had said, "Oh, I hadn't, written songs in 6 months or so."
Yes.
So it was either one or the other. It might have been Hard Nosed the Highway.
Hard Nosed to the Highway. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, how long did you just play local with him at like the Keystone or like the Long Branch, or like where did you play with him?
Yeah, we played. It was. I did a lot of local gigs with him, and only played, like, I remember I played the Poly Pavilion with him. He wasn't doing. He really never really enjoyed touring. He didn't want to be in front of an audience. I heard 10,000 people boo us one night at Winterland.
Why?
Because, well, boy, it's a hard one. He had been he wanted to drink.
Right.
And the night we were playing 2 nights, and the night before, he had a lot to drink, but it was a really great performance. And I think they wanted to stop him from drinking from the next night at Winterland. So he ended up. He was playing an ovation, an acoustic ovation, electric acoustic, and he was saying, behind the stage, he was going, "I need a drink," and they're going, "There's nothing to drink here, man." So he decided he was going to go get a drink, and he tried to put his ovation down.
Wait, he just was going to leave. He was going to leave the building and go to the bar next door.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Go somewhere and get it. And so.
Wait. I'm sorry. What venue was this? What venue? What venue?
This was Winterland.
Wow.
Yeah, so he put his guitar down in front of his amp, and of course it fed back. And he tried that a couple times, and he got this. We played 6 blues instrumentals in a row, and he walked off stage. Of course we got booed. It was a horrible feeling. But
yeah, this is I mean,
that's Van.
Yeah, that is Van. Rick, we'll do part 2. We've been cooking here for over an hour, and I know you got to get some food in you. And but it was great. It was, I mean, truly an honor to connect with you, man. And thank you.
Well, an honor for me to be able to do this. I love what you do, and I think you're really good at pulling stuff out and asking good questions. So.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like I mean, I guess I have that ability with people that are willing to be in the moment to take them out of their original mindset, kind of the way it happened with Dionne Warwick. Where you after you get off the phone, you say, "Well, my God, we covered a large swath of material, but I don't remember anything I said."
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, man, be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
anytime. I'm here. I'm not
dude,
going anywhere.
yeah, be safe, man. Really, be safe.
Yeah, you too.
Love always, man. Thank you, brother. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll be back with Emily Wilder after this.